FU podcast. This is from Uncle advice and things that I wish that somebody would have told me when I was your age, or maybe stuff that you might have missed as you were younger and now that you need to hear, and ideas that I would like to share. Some uncle advice coming from one uncle, from my uncles to your uncle, and so on and so forth. Anyways, hey man, the ladies got a lot of support groups out there, hey, and they got a lot of support, and I don't knock that one bit, and there's a lot of us men that support these women groups all over, whether you're in Canada, US, or wherever. I just noticed that there's a lot of stuff for women out there. So, anyways, I decided to create this podcast for the men, for our young men especially, but also for all men, and a platform where we can all engage with each other, where we can all share knowledge and share good things. So this is more coming from an indigenous perspective, but also from an urban indigenous perspective. So if you guys are tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining. So welcome to the FU podcast. It's for the uncles, or from the uncles, knowledge and ideas and just little things I would like to share in regards to knowledge from just advice, life advice, things that we need to talk about as men. This is a safe platform to do so. So today's topic and theme is kind of a good one, and it's kind of a funny one. So the good about it is the theme that I decided to talk about today was financial literacy and how to take care of your tugy. It's kind of funny, but it's important. It's seriously important. Like for men, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves not only financially, but we also have to take care. Basically, we have to just take care of each other in a big way. And one of the ways to do so is, first of all, you have to take care of your bank account, before you even consider anything else. So the other thing I was gonna mention is that, like for men's health, down there, right? Down there, that little soldier in your pants, right? You gotta take care of that. You gotta you gotta know something, right? You gotta know how to take care of yourself, right? So taking care of yourself is there's a lot to it, right? There's basic hygiene, there's basic things like that. And I don't know if every guy's the same. So that's why I'm bringing it up for a topic of discussion for today. And also another thing that is not talked about at times is also financial literacy. Now, I wish somebody would have taught me about that at an early age, because financial literacy is super important, because you got to support yourself. You got to support yourself as not only as a man but as a person. It's not just a man thing. It's a everybody thing. Like you have to be able to sustain yourself. You have to support yourself. You have to support sometimes children, and there's a lot of deadbeat dads out there, unfortunately. And part of it is financial literacy at its finest. So financial literacy, it just means not buying a bunch of shit that you don't need, and saving more than you spend. And it's very simple. Like, it's very simple. Do you put away money? Do you understand how money works? And if so, what do you know about money? So what I know about money right now is that right now we're at the all-time high for interest rates right now. The inflation rates are crazy right now. It's 7% inflation rate, and it's crazy like how much inflation is in our country? Well, just because of the pandemic and all the money printing that the government's been doing. The government's been printing money like crazy, just giving away free COVID checks for like a whole year, giving away billions of trillions of dollars. And eventually that shit adds up. That adds up in a big way, and somebody has to pay for that eventually. So who's that somebody? Well, that somebody is you, or everybody, really everybody. And now there's a war in Russia and Ukraine. Man, there's a lot of shit in the world. And don't get me wrong, like I have the ultimate sympathy for Ukraine and what's going on there. It's sad to see all the destruction and all the violence on TV and everywhere. But also there is a profit side of war, right? There's big profit in war. Like I don't care if somebody's gonna get mad at me for saying that, but it's true. There is profit in war. There's big profit. Look it up. It's a real thing. Some of the biggest profiteers in the world are war profiteers, people who make weapons of mass destruction, people who make weapons and guns and everything like that. Do you think that shit's for free? No, it's not for free. It costs money to produce those rockets. It costs money for those anti-tank weapons, those anti-aircraft missiles. It's an ongoing thing, right? It's a lot of money involved, and somebody's profiting off of that. Somebody's getting a big, huge boost right now in their wallets, in their bank accounts, and it's maybe there's another conspiracy theory in the matter too, that there's they're doing it for population control too. There's all kinds of theories as to why they go to war and why they do stuff, right? A lot of it's money, a lot of it's power, right? Putin wants his country back. He says that's part of Russia. But the hidden gem about it is that Ukraine is one of the biggest grain producers in the world. And they have all that nuclear power. They supply 25% of their power to all of Europe. So, yeah, of course he wants it. It's a very energy rich country. And it's hard to not want something like that. He wants it, and he wants it bad. So bad that he's willing to go through all the sanctions, everything like that. So, that's the part of financial literacy too, understanding how the world economy works, understanding what's going on in the world can affect your bank account, can affect what's going on over here. Right now, gas prices are at all-time high here too. And so there's a little bit of controversy around that too, because all of a sudden Joe Biden's all of a sudden considering relaunching the Keystone XL pipeline, the one that they killed when Biden got into power. Now he's considering reopening that idea because they banned Russian oil and gas. So that could be a possibility too in the future. And you gotta pay attention to this shit, because if you don't pay attention, then you don't really know what's going on in the financial world. And to know all these things gives you power and gives you insight as to what to invest in, what to buy, what not to buy, what to avoid, how to save your money, but also don't just hold on to your money. Holding on to your money, you're losing 7% interest every day. You have to put it in the right places. So there's different options out there like cryptocurrency, there's mutual funds, there's stocks, there's bonds, there's all those kind of things that you can invest in. Or else there's flipping things. You can buy something for cheap and then flip it and sell it for more, right? There's big money in that. So there's all kinds of opportunities. But the biggest thing though is to always save your money, like save enough. Don't spend your last dollar on nonsense. That's financial literacy. So you should have kind of an emergency account. So when I was younger, for example, in my 20s, when I was going to college, I always kept my bank account so it would never go below 500 bucks. So that was a little thing for me, that if anything were to ever happen, emergency, that okay, I got 500 bucks to get myself out of any given situation. So, anyways, that was my first part of financial literacy. Is just saving enough for a rainy day, in case it rained, and and if and if it did rain, I had an umbrella tucked away to at least keep me dry for a while I can get to the next thing and make some more money, or else use that 500 bucks to make more money, right? So for me, it was about survival at first because I grew up poor. Hey, I didn't really have money. I wasn't taught financial literacy. All I was taught is like go to the welfare office and get a paycheck, right? Go get some free money. Go get some welfare. You know, a lot of people know the welfare system. It's really hard though nowadays to get even welfare. Like even for young mothers, there's a lot to it. Like you basically have to be damn near dying to get welfare, and you have to like call the office 10 times a day for 10 days in a row before they even give you the time of day. So, welfare system is a lot harder nowadays because too many people have abused it over time, and that's the whole thing about financial literacy. If you don't save for those rainy days and you don't know how to compile your money, then eventually it's going to catch up to you. And so what I recommend though is research compound interest. It's the eighth. So if you don't understand compound interest, then that means you're automatically right now you're losing money. So as a dude, I see guys, they spend hours on their devices looking at chicks, right? You look at chicks, oh yeah, she looks pretty hot, or like maybe you're a gay guy and you're looking at guys, right? Anyways, whether you're gay or straight or whatever, I don't discriminate. I I show love to all of them, but it's all about masculine energy and feminine energy. So whether you're a guy or a girl or gay or straight, it doesn't really matter. It's all the same. We're all human beings. We all got to take care of ourselves, and financial literacy is super important. So let an uncle tell you that you need to save your money. You need to be smart with your money. So if you're gonna invest certain amounts of times in your hobbies or whatever, social media, you're going to be scrolling all day. Well, maybe scroll on to some financial literacy sites. Like learn as much as you can about financial literacy, understand the market, interest rates, how the banks work, right? So how it works and how I've come to know it is that you save an X amount of money, right? You have like these five money jars, right? So one is for your expenses, your living expenses, right? You can't get by that. So when you make your money, you got to pay your expenses, right? And then you've also got your bills and whatever, and you got another money jar for basic living costs like food and whatever. So we have living expenses, food, living costs, and then also your financial responsibilities on a month-to-month basis. You've got another jar for just specifically for your your needs. But basically every jar goes in a different area, and then a certain jar goes to taxes, right? That's just automatic for some people. But if you're self-employed, you got to put that money away so you can pay your taxes later, right? And then there's another jar which is 20%, right? You should have 20% of your income put away for savings, right? At least 20% or something like that. Whatever number is comfortable with you. And then maybe 5% of spending it on whatever you want. Uh, you want to go have a big steak dinner and spend 100 bucks on a meal, then go ahead. That's what that jar's for, right? So basically, that's financial literacy is knowing where to put your money and how to put away money for the future. Um, Basically, understanding financial literacy is a must these days in order to survive. Yeah, don't mind me, Uncle sending a text here. All right, making plans for later. Okay, so uh, yeah, as I was saying, financial literacy is important because you got to pay your bills, right? You got to pay your bills to survive, but you also got to know how to put your money away. So when you do start accumulating money, the way I have it set up is I'm invested in mutual funds because I know mutual funds, the interest rate is a lot higher in the long run, and it's part of your portfolio too. So having a portfolio is important. To me, this is some white guy shit, hey? Like no offense to the white brothers out there and all the the white folk out there. Yeah, I'm part white too, so but I happen to be indigenous too. So, anyways, yeah, I know growing up on the reserve, financial literacy is not really a topic of discussion out there a lot of times. A lot of times it's about where am I going to get my next check from, right? And then eventually people spend it. I've always been one to like save my money and put it away because I hate being broke. If you hate being broke, then save money. Every time you get some sort of financial gain, save your money. Put it in those jars, all whatever they're called. You have car or transportation expenses, living, house expenses, food expenses, and government bills, right? And responsibilities. And then you have a jar for your savings, and then a jar for your spending, right? So just put it like that. You have five different money jars to put money into every month. And when you look at it that way, then it's easier to manage, right? It's easier to manage in such a way. So what I've done, I'll tell you what I've done. I've set up something with my bank account. So first of all, I got a credit union account. So I got involved with a local credit union. And in Canada, we have credit unions. So if you can get with a credit union bank, those are better because when you join a credit union account, you're actually a stakeholder in the bank right off the bat. So you're already getting dividends from the back from the bank, from the profits of the overall company. You as a shareholder having a bank account, you get kickbacks from that. So you do get some money back. I don't know what the percentage on that is, but there is a percentage. So that's the first step. So then the next step is setting up a savings account with high interest. So you can do a GIC, which is not good this time because the average GIC will only give you 3 to 4% back. And that sucks that the average GIC account will only give you that much because the interest rate is at 7%. So it makes no sense. It's like why do people even sell GICs now in this time of crisis, right? So you got to get a little bit riskier and a little bit creative, a little bit more creative. So what I've done is I've started to invest and create a mutual funds portfolio. So mutual funds, what that is basically your banker will create a portfolio for you and get you set up that way. And just a little note of advice that eventually the banker is going to ask you, are you okay with the market dipping? They'll do a survey to see if you really mean business. So the survey that they'll say to you is they're going to ask you, what if the market dips? Are you going to cash out? Right? That's what they're going to ask you. And these are kind of trick questions, but they're real questions that make real sense because they want to know if you're for sure. Because if you're just in there to make a quick buck, then they won't let you invest in a mutual funds account. Just so you know. Just so you know so you don't get kicked out right off the bat, right? So if you are setting a mutual funds account up, it's a good idea to show that you're committed in the long run to to be in the long haul for your mutual funds. So your mutual funds, basically what it is, it's a group of companies that you put your money in a big portfolio with another group of like other people that are part of the same bank or maybe a series of financial institutions. Anyways, there's one guy above that handles the portfolio, that handles all the investments in the groups of companies. So collectively, these groups of companies, they all produce income by investments in the stock market and trading and stocks and everything like that. So it's like in the States, they do the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is different than in Canada. Canada, we have mutual funds. It's not the same. It's like the S&P 500, but it's just called something different in Canada. So they have two different funds in Canada. There's a select group of 100 companies that they invest in through mutual funds, and then also there is a select group of banks that Canada invests in. So you have a bank collective, and also a group of companies collective. So that's what you do. You put your money in those mutual funds and you leave it there. You forget about it. You don't touch it ever. You leave it in there as a cushion, so to speak. It's like a safety net. But it's more than that. It's more than a safety net because it's basically giving you financial superpowers later on. You're building up your superpowers. And then you could also automatically set in your bank account every month 50 bucks or whatever to contribute to your mutual fund portfolio. 50 bucks. That 50 bucks will add up over the year. Over the year, that 50 bucks will turn into a $600 contribution per year into your mutual funds. So over the course of 10 years, that's 6 grand. And say you earn, a cumulative interest of 15% interest on that 6 grand. Well, on top of that, like say you invested 10 grand on top of that 6 grand. Now, let me just break that down for you. So let's do, let's say $16,000 times 15%. So you'd make 2,400 bucks. So your 1,600 bucks would turn into 1,800. That's just one number, right? So I'm gonna go plus 16,000. Yeah, 18,400. So you'd basically have $18,400 in your account. But that's just speculating on 15% interest, right? That's a pretty decent interest rate. So you make 2,400 bucks, right? But there's another thing. It just compounds, right? That's what you call compound interest, is that your interest and your investment grows in that portfolio. So as your portfolio increases, your interest rate, everything, the money you have, you can eventually just live off of your interest and compounding that interest over and over and over again. And eventually you can use that as leverage. So how you can use that as leverage is you you get a line of credit with the bank, or you get a credit card, and you can do that in a variety of different ways. See, when you have investments with the bank, they'll give you a line of credit. You barely even have to ask. You don't even have to apply. You're just like, I want a line of credit so I can start spending money. And they'll give you a line of credit because you have money in their bank, and they'll give you at a very low interest rate too. So, but you have to make sure that the line of credit that you get, that you don't get charged per purchase. So you have to find the right account that works for you. So you have to definitely find the accounts that if you pay them off, you don't get dinged on the interest at the end of the month, right? So how the ideal credit account that you want to get is, say you got a credit card and it's 10% interest on the balance, right? But if you pay off the balance before the billing cycle, then you don't get charged any interest whatsoever. And the cool thing about credit cards is that when you use credit cards, it's the merchant that has to pay for the transaction and not you. So there's a little financial literacy advice for you guys. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to complicate things too much, but those are just some basic things that you can do for your bank account. Save your money. There's no value. You might get a thrill out of taking a girl out on a hot date and spending a lot of money and trying to impress her with your financial resources. That doesn't, that's only like and they call that instant gratification. So the sucky part about it is how some of our men become deadbeat dads, is they do that too much, right? They try to impress girls with their money to get in their pants or whatever, right? They try to impress somebody with how much money they can spend at once, and like, oh, like, this is how generous I am. But as soon as a baby comes along, they're not really that generous. They barely buy diapers, man. It's weird. Guys will wine you and dine you. Some guys will wine and dine chicks just to impress them. And that's not how you impress a woman. You want to impress a woman? Be a man. Be a good man. And And if a woman's too blind to see that and she only pays attention to that, then you don't want to stay around one of those kind of women. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but there is people out there that unfortunately uh, they take advantage. Somebody's calling me. All right, hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna have to end here pretty soon, there, guys, with my podcast. So, yeah, all right, yeah, I had somebody calling me here. Yeah, lots going on. Uncle's got a busy life, So I'm just taking a few minutes though out of my day to do this podcast for those that need to hear it. I wanted to talk about financial literacy, and if you guys don't know, and if I haven't covered enough, there's a lot of YouTube videos. I'm not the only YouTuber that has something to say about financial literacy. There's guys that go into more details. Like you can sit and watch that shit for hours. Like there's guys that talk about it and talk about it. But from a Canadian Indigenous perspective, that's where I'm coming from. Like a real perspective, somebody who's actually in the market, like not some privileged white boy that comes from a suburban neighborhood. Like this is how you invest in stocks. You have it? And like no, that's not me. No, I'm from the ghetto, man. I'm from the ghetto, and I came from nothing, and I made myself into something. So if you want to do that, pay attention, right? It pays to pay attention. So everybody can afford to pay attention. So if you're not paying attention, then you're missing all that glory. Like Bruce Lee says, "Oh, you focus on the moon, you're missing all that glory, missing all that gloriousness when you have that power within you. You have that power within you to make a choice and make a decision now. Oh, hey, Susan from Winnipeg. Even though this is for the uncles podcast, hey, it's for everybody too. I'm sharing some uncle advice with those that need to hear it. So thanks for tuning in. Um, I'm basically talking more from a men's perspective and sharing some real stuff about what some of our young men need to hear. From the uncles. Let uncle tell it to you. Listen to your uncles. Well, not the ones that just got out of jail and don't have a job kind of uncles. No, I'm talking about the uncles that actually made a difference in their life. So I'm just kind of speaking to that, and I'm not trying to diss anybody. You know what? I wish more people would take control of their own lives and take care of their responsibilities. It would make the world a better place, man. You want to live your own best life? Then take some uncle advice, man. Take some uncle advice from me and all the other successful uncles out there. Like I'm a successful uncle because I've been my own boss for many, many years, for nearly 20 years now. I haven't worked a real job ever since I was 24 years old. I'm going to be 44 this year, so 20 years straight. I've worked not a job, but for myself as an entrepreneur, as an artist. And I've done a lot of things in my life, and some of them I'm proud of, some of them I'm not so proud of, but that's another story. That's another podcast altogether that I can share with you guys in the future. And I just wanted to come online today and talk about financial literacy because there's too many of our men that they're falling through the cracks of society. There's too many indigenous men that are incarcerated in prison. There's too many indigenous men that are considered deadbeat dads, and I want to start hearing more glory stories for our men. I want to hear more glory stories that our men are standing up for our women. You see it sometimes in the media, right? But we don't see it enough on a regular basis, on an everyday basis. So that's why I want to be here for all the young men, for all men, and we can work together to ensure our successes in the future, our triumphs, and be good men to our women, to our children, to everything. I wish I would have had somebody telling me and giving me these kind of advice tips when I was younger. Well, at least somebody was, but they weren't giving it to me in a good way. I was actually being sworn at, and Uh, yeah, it's about the approach too, right? So you gotta have a good approach. You gotta approach everything with love and fairness, right? And I'm here to give you the cold hard truth about financial literacy, and also about men's health down there, right? Taking care of your tugy. So I once used to listen to Sue Johannesson once. She used to have the Sunday night sex show. There's this woman, right? This older woman, sweet, sweet lady. Like I don't know if she's still around, but um, in Canada, we used to have this podcast or this radio show every week. Sue Johannesson would talk about. It was like kind of like a Dear Abby thing. It was kind of like a commentary every week. She would talk about sex and everybody has sex, right? Everybody. That's how we all got here in the first place. So let's not beat around the bush about it and let's talk about some real stuff. So, men, men, you got to take care of Mr. Nice Guy down there, right? So, one of the things that Sue used to say is when you're in heat, bag your meat. That was one of her catchphrases. I used to just crack up at that, right? And it was so hilarious. But, as for a man too, right, you got to be aware of things like your prostate health as well. So knowing what to do for that, like tomatoes, for example, there's certain foods that you can eat to help to uh, ensure your bloodstream is flowing properly because that has a lot to do with your health down there, right? Your tugai health, do you call it, right? So you got to take stuff that's high in antioxidants. So there's certain supplements you can take. There's even prostate pills nowadays you can take for that. And on top of that, cleanliness, guys. Cleanliness is godliness, right? So, even something as simple as going to the bathroom and making sure, you know how women they use tissue, right, to have a little wipey wipey. Guys, we got to do that too, right? It's not a crime if you gotta like give it a couple shakes and make sure it's clean before you put it back away in your jewels area. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to touch on. I'm not going to talk too much about that area, the private area. That's the reason why they call it a private area, but definitely you got to take care of that, right? You can't just leave it and forget about it and not clean it or wash it or anything like that because that's where cancer attacks us men first. I've seen so many men die over the years because of simple little things that you could have taken care of beforehand, the proactive approach to health. And this is something I've always talked about, even in my powwow aerobics, but not so specific to men. But I've talked about the importance of taking care of your body on a regular basis. Your body is a temple, and whether you're a man or a woman, you have to take care of your body because eventually, if you abuse your body enough times, it will break down, and it will eventually uh, cause you problems in the future. So that's why it's important though to take care of that. And taking care of that too is being wary about where you put that, right? Not just going to use it just because you want to use it, right? You got to be mindful of who like you got to understand, that you have power as a man too. You have power within you. That's your manpower, right? That's your mojo. So when you give that away, that's sacred too. You got to look at it that way too. Like it's sacred. It's not just something to brag about or laugh about or joke about anywhere later. Sure, people have sex jokes and stuff like that. I get it, whatever. But there's a serious side of it too, right? So, understanding that and taking care of yourself is essential. That's called self-care and self-love and and it's okay to do that. It doesn't make you less of a man to take care of your manhood, right? To take care of what the Creator has given you. So that's all I pretty much have to talk about for today, for today's podcast. You know, I really wanted to stress that with financial literacy and taking care of your manhood and your manly responsibilities. In order to if you want to impress anybody, you don't need to flaunt around your ego or your wallet or your muscles or how tough you are. No, that's minimal. That's not even applicable. That's not even a percentage, because people see right through that, right? So if you want to impress anybody, be a good man and follow your passion and follow your dreams and help as many people as you can. That's what makes a good warrior nowadays. And to me, I know I'm a person, and I've never said I'm a perfect person, but I'm just here to share some uncle knowledge with you today. So thanks for tuning in to the FU podcast, which means from Uncle Knowledge. Some some knowledge I wanted to drop on you for today. So join me again here next week at the Uncle podcast, and we will see you guys soon. So in the meantime and in between time, you guys take care, have fun, and um, hey, we'll see you again soon. Hi hi, kinanaskumptin, and have a good night. Thank you.